Peter Dawkers catches up with TV2's Kaja Marie Snare to ask her whether she thinks Magnus Carlsen will hold on and finally win the Altibox Norway Chess Super Tournament. Mike Klein brings us all the details of how we crowned new champions in St. Louis just before hopping on a plane to his next Chess Kit event. And the mystery of what do Grandmasters do on their rest days at these Super GM tournaments is finally solved courtesy of a funny video from Grandmaster Jan Ludwig Hammer. Champagne wishes and chess player dreams. Robin Leach ain't got nothing on ChessCenter. Let's do this.
Well, Danny, it seems like it's been a solid decade where Anna Zatonsky and Irina Krush have been passing the U.S. Women's Championship back and forth between each other as if they're playing an extremely strange game of tennis. This year, however, neither of them had a chance to win coming into the last round. Do you think this says something about the strength of their opposition, or do you think they both fell flat this year?
Well, it definitely means that it's worthy of the surprise of the week. If you had told me beforehand that one of the other young players like Women's Grandmaster Tata Babrahamian or Nazi Bakidze would have a chance to win, I would have said, yeah. But if you had told me that Irina and Anna wouldn't even be contending heading into the last round, I would have called you crazy. I think it's a combination of the two. I think that those two heavyweights fell a little bit short of their normal level of play. But I also think the young players like Jennifer Yu and Carissa Yip are only going to get better with both of those ladies pulling upsets over each of them respectively. So I think it's a sign of things to come. It was definitely a shocker, though, to see it happen the way that it did and for neither of them to be there in the end. But congratulations to the other young ladies performing well, and I'm sure Irina and Anna will get a couple more titles before it's all said and done. Well, I see houses, I see a beautiful view of water and mountains, but no Peter Dawkers. Peter, where are you?
Hey, Danny. Yeah, well, I'm right here. Again, showing a nice view from my hotel room in Stavanger, where, of course, the Norway Chess Tournament is underway. And actually, I just came from playing some football with Magnus Carlsen and his second also, Jan Ludwig Hammer, and some other people here. It's a rest day, the second rest day. And, well, at the moment, 6 rounds have been played. And, yeah, well, we know from last week that Carlsen started well with winning that Blitz tournament. And, well, he continued well. He's actually leading the tournament now with 4 points out of 6, with 4 players on half point behind him. And, well, his first round was very good. He won versus Hari Krishna. And later on, he also won against Grandelius. But, well, the last 2 rounds are a little bit less impressive, actually. He could not beat Anish Giri, who still remains undefeated against the world champion. And then yesterday against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, Carlsen was actually under a bit of pressure in a Berlin ending, and yeah, I was happy to survive that. So maybe the trend is not in his favor, but yeah, Carlsen still leads at the moment.
Yeah, he does still lead, but enough about Marcia, Magnus. Who else is at this tournament, and who else is playing well?
Well, one of the players actually who is half point behind and who will face Magnus in tomorrow's 7th round is the former world champion Vladimir Kramnik. And what's very interesting to note about Kramnik's play so far is he has actually played 1 e4 in 2 white games. I checked some statistics, and of course we know that between 2002 and 2005 he played this move quite regularly. But then between 2006 and 2013, he only played it 15 times in 394 white games. So it had become really rare again for Vladimir to go 1 e4. And well, he played 2 draws with it, 2 Giuoco pianos against Elyanov and Aronian. But yeah, it's just great to see that he's expanding his repertoire again.
Right, well, time to start experimenting, maybe toward the end of his career, but he's still playing very well. What about our next Grandmaster Blitz battle participant against Hikaru Nakamura, Pentala Hari Krishna? How's he playing?
Yeah, indeed, I wanted to mention him as well because, well, he started with a first round loss against Carlsen, can happen to anyone. And then he played 2 draws, but actually he won his last 2 games to move to +1 and also half a point behind Carlsen. He beat Li Chao with a very nice game as white in a King's Indian. And yesterday he played the French defense, not very popular at the moment at top level. And with the French, he beat my compatriot Anish Giri. So Hari doing very well, and yeah, looking forward to his battle with Nakamura.
We are looking forward to the end of this tournament as well to see if Magnus can finally win one or who else can give him a run for his money. Any final storylines to mention before we let you get back to it?
No, the weather is great, and actually tomorrow the players are moving to a different venue, a concert house more in the center of Stavanger, and I'll be moving there as well to a hotel very close to there. And yeah, we'll see. I think a very nice end of this super tournament here.
Well, we'll let you get back to cleaning your hotel room. We know you're up till 2, 3 a.m. writing news reports, so we won't judge you too much for the messy bed. Thank you, Peter, and we look forward to all the videos you're also bringing us. Everyone can check those out at our YouTube channel and your news reports, and we will see you on next week's Chess Center.
All right, see you next week.
Robert, our move of the week comes to us from the Altibox Norway Chess Super Tournament, and it might even be an early candidate for one of the best moves of the year. Given the depth of preparation it revealed about MVL's Najdorf analysis, of course, no one really surprised. He's considered by many to be the best Najdorf player on the planet right now. But also just his understanding and willingness and guts to play a move like this. Tell everybody what he did here and why it's normally such a big no-no for Black in the Najdorf, but worked out brilliantly against Garry.
Well, here MVL just showed that he is the bravest French soul you've ever have seen, and goes pawn to d5. Now that's a typical break in many Sicilian lines, but not when your king is stuck in the center. Mind you, the rook is on g8, which means you can never castle kingside, not that you want to with an open king, and it seems very far away to castle queenside, but d5 is a great shot. After pawn takes d5, the knight comes to e5. Remember, the queen can't take on f4 because knight d3 check would be a nice way to scoop up that queen on f4. So after queen to h3, now MVL captured pawn takes d5, and if you look, g4 is now very vulnerable. Black's pieces quickly jump into the game, and after rook e1, the simple king move to f8, which is another very brave decision, while Black is doing just marvelously.
Yeah, I almost could have seen king f8 as a move of the week candidate, but since it all stems from this original idea of d5, I think we started in the right place. Let's show everybody how this incredible game finished off and how MVL just flexed the muscles of Black's attack here on the queen side. After knight f5, he's willing to trade, and again, as you said, this is normally just a nightmare for the king, but White has no concrete threats. MVL had the awareness that that king would be safer than he looked, and all of a sudden Black's pieces start coming to life on the queen side. We get amazing tactics after knight e4, and then pretty soon here another knight coming in with check on d3. Everybody and their cousin is sacrificed for the greater good to come after this king, and MVL finishes off the game after taking on e1, pushing to d3 with tempo, and then bishop e3 check, which is followed quickly by the queen entering. Even if king takes d3, the move queen to c4 is made. So well deserving of our move of the week. One of the best games I've seen to start this whole year of 2016, and another reminder why nobody should play a Najdorf against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Well, here's what everyone's talking about this week, Sean. Grandmaster Jan Ludwig Hammer gave us some interesting video footage depicting what the players were doing at the first rest day at the Altibox Norway Chess Super Tournament. Take a guess at what these players might have elected to do with their free time.
Well, it looks like they're participating in bubble soccer. I think this is a great idea, particularly if you can have Vladimir Kramnik and Topalov in the same room. It's probably best to have them surrounded by layers of plastic. You can see them at the end of the video. Hopefully this is a step in the right direction of them making peace. I know Vladimir has said that he would like to bury the hatchet there as a sign of gallantry to his son. So only time will tell to see if this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting angle to take. I noticed they never really made eye contact in the video, but still all the players seem to have a ton of fun, and it's definitely an interesting video worth a look for all those who aren't currently subscribing to our YouTube channel. They need to be doing it, and check out this video from Jan Ludwig Hammer and see if you can guess who all the players were at the start of the video when you can't see their faces. Ain't no party like a featured news party, because the featured news party don't stop. We move right from Norway to St. Louis to check on just how the U.S. Championship finished up.
Well, Danny, Grandmaster Fabiano Caruana won his very first U.S. championship in his first try. He called it one of the biggest achievements of his career. He won as Black against U.S. junior champion Akshat Chandra. That sealed the victory no matter what the second and third place people were doing. Turns out the winning margin was a full point because Wesley So and Hikaru Nakamura, neither of them could win their games as Black. Fabiano Caruana was the best in the confessional booth and the most solid over the board. He really wasn't worse all week, except maybe for one little move against Gadakomsky in the penultimate round. So he wins his very first U.S. title and the changing of the guard. No more Nakamura or Komsky winning.
Well, it was exciting to see them put pressure on him toward the end, but I think winning that head-to-head matchup against Nakamura earlier in the tournament pretty much sealed the deal in most people's eyes, but there really wasn't nearly as much drama following the men's as there was on the women's side of thing in the last round. Go ahead and break down what happened over there.
That's exactly right, Danny. I was camped out on that side of the room for most of the day. Tatev Abrahamian went into the round with a half-point lead. All she had to do as black was beat a junior player, or at least get a draw to assure herself a playoff. She made a crucial decision before the round. She decided to eschew her favorite finish. She played the Najdorf and frankly got completely outplayed in a positional masterpiece by Ashrita Eswaran. And that meant that the door was open for Nazi Pikidze to make a comeback. She had her own challenge, though. She was black against Grandmaster Irina Krush. When she saw Tatev lose, she knew the door was open. She took care of business, beating Irina Krush for the second year in a row. It was fascinating to watch because as the first time control came to a close and Nazi realized that she was going to win Irina's queen, she could barely hold it together emotionally. She was closing her eyes. It looked like she was doing some breathing exercises. And then as soon as Irina offered her hand in resignation, Nazi lost it. Her eyes started watering. She got a big hug from her husband. And frankly, I don't think I've been around a U.S. Women's Championship that's been as emotional. Tatev is the hard luck loser. Her fifth second-place finish in her U.S. Women's Championship career.
Yeah, I understand Nazi even went over and sort of apologized to Tatev for breaking her heart. I think so many people,
right,
whether they admit it or not, were rooting for Abrahamian, who's been the third wheel on the outside looking in to the Anna Zatonski-Irina Krush show for so many years. But still amazing and great footage caught on camera by you. What great footage will we catch in this Blitz event coming up toward the end of this week with Garry Kasparov taking on the top three finishers? Give us the breakdown of what to expect in that battle.
It's fascinating. Normally we'd all fly home today, but there's another event coming up. Kasparov had signed on to play the top three finishers of the U.S. Championship, and those top three finishers we now know are the three highest rated. Caruana, So, and Nakamura are all going to play 18 games against each other on April 28th and 29th. There's a $50,000 prize fund, $20,000 for first. Kasparov has already said no matter what his winnings are, he's going to donate them to the U.S. Olympiad team. The time control is 5 minutes with a 3-second delay. Hikaru Nakamura thinks that the delay will help Kasparov a little bit more than the increment might have. And here's an interesting stat, Danny. None of the three have ever played a single over-the-board blitz game against Kasparov. Quite surprising since, as you recall, about 5 years ago, Nakamura was training with Kasparov. Now, Fabiano thinks he might have played Kasparov under a pseudonym on some online chess, but he's not quite sure. So we don't really know who's going to win. It's a generational battle, and Nakamura said that every succeeding generation in chess should be better than the previous one, but he also said Kasparov is Kasparov. Nobody knows what's going to happen, Danny.
I tend to agree with Nakamura on that theory, but it will definitely be exciting, and I'll be curious to see how Kasparov can fare against those three just total studs. So really great stuff, Mike. Thanks for catching up with us this morning, coming to us live from the Grandmaster house, I believe it is, in St. Louis. So appreciate it. We're going to put you on a plane to send you wherever you're going next in the world, and we'll see you on next week's Chess Center.
Back home, Danny. Thanks very much.
Well, Robert, the U.S. Women's Championship is a two-horse race no longer, with Irina Krush and Anna Zatonski not performing up to their normal standards. Many big wins by women's Grandmaster Tatev Abrahamian, and perhaps none more so than the win right here over Anna Zatonski after Anna played the move Queen takes d4 here. A horrific move that I'll challenge the viewers in the next few seconds while I'm talking to figure out what Abrahamian played. But I'm going to pass the mic to you, Bobby, to tell everybody why this was so horrible and what Anna should have played to keep her U.S. Championship hopes alive.
Yeah, well, queen takes d4 looks like a normal move because offering a queen trade, white is temporarily up a pawn, and when you're ahead in material, trades are often good. Here, however, there's a hidden tactic. Look how the queen and the king are lined up in the same diagonal. It looks like the c5 square is under control, but that's just an illusion. Bishop c5 here, a great tactical shot by Tatev Abrahamian, actually picked up the queen. If knight takes c5, well, now the queen is no longer protected by the knight. Queen takes d4, picked up a full queen. So Anna really, she was resigned to taking on c5 with queen takes c5, rook takes c5, knight takes c5, and there's still the wonderful queen d4 check at the end, scooping up the knight on c5, and with it, Tatev is up a queen for merely a rook, a completely winning advantage.
Yeah, a shot that came out of nowhere as far as Anna was concerned, but a pretty basic tactic. And unfortunately for her, her position was doing just fine. If, as you said, if she hadn't played this move, the move knight takes d4 is a position that maintains a slight edge for white according to the engines. And after winning the 2 games up leading up to this game, you thought Anna was just revving up the engines, but no siree. She blunders, losing her chances at winning the U.S. Championship this year, and with it taking our Blunder of the Week prize.
Kaja, thanks for joining us again in ChessCenter. We're at the Altibox Norway Chess Tournament where Magnus has been joining TV2 here in the live studio every day to talk about his tournament. And he started really well, but the last 2 rounds seem a little bit shaky. Do you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. And yesterday when we had him in the studio, he was really unhappy with his own play. It ended in a draw, of course, but he was really not happy at all. And today he wasn't in that bad of a mood, but obviously he wasn't happy about getting into a situation against Maxim Vachier-Lagrave where he could possibly lose, but he was happy about getting back, saving the draw. But I think he's really happy that there's going to be a rest day tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, and then we have 3 more rounds in this tournament. So what do you think? Will he finally win his first Norway chess tournament on home soil?
We were really optimistic about it before yesterday's round, but we know that he's got quite difficult games to play. He's meeting Kramnik, he's meeting Levon Aronian, and we know the fact he's never won this tournament before, so we're kind of shaky right now, actually.
And then looking ahead even further, of course we know last month Sergei Karyakin qualified for playing Magnus in November. What was the reaction in Norway about that news, and maybe also the reaction from Magnus himself?
Well, obviously, I think everyone thinks that's really exciting. It's 2 young boys from the same generation. It's going to be a little bit more exciting maybe than 2 games against Anand. Now we get a different opponent. It's going to be in New York, which is really exciting. I've seen Magnus talk a little bit about it. He said that he also thinks it's exciting, and he's grown up with Karyakin. They've been battling since they were just young kids. And I also saw somewhere that he said that he looked up to Karyakin when he was younger. Obviously now Magnus is the better one, but it's going to be an exciting World Championship match.
Awesome, thank you very much, and see you next time.
He's a Grandmaster. His name is Bobby Hess, and he's back for Time Trouble. But does the GM title give you any advantage here as a contestant on Time Trouble?
No, I think it actually hurts my chances of doing well.
It definitely does as far as how I stack the questions. And let's start things off with a tough one. With someone not named Irina Krush or Anna Zatonski winning the U.S. Women's Championship this year, is this an aberration or a sign of things to come?
Well, with all these young teenage girls flocking to St. Louis, in addition to Tatev Abrahamian and Nazi Bakidze, it's definitely a change in the guard. Speaking of young talent flocking St. Louis, what about Jeffrey Xiong in his inaugural U.S. Championship? Is he the best wildcard selection the club has ever made?
What about a young, clean-shaven, and good-looking Bobby Hess, I might add, in 2009? That performance was rocking. Here's a question that might surprise you as I'm already looking ahead to next year. Any early candidates for the World Chess Hall of Fame 2017 inductee?
Wow, that's a tough one. I'm going to dig into my historical facts here and bring out Mir Sultan Khan, a servant from India who surprised the chess world and even beat Jose Raul Capablanca in the game.
I didn't even know that existed, so way to go deep.
Well, going off from the other end of the spectrum here, there was a cheating scandal in Norway as a blind chess player was suspended for 2 years. What do you make of this incident?
Unfortunately, I just make of it the same thing everybody else does, that cheating is easier than people think, and it's hard to catch people. This guy cheated for a while, but I trust Ken Regan's statistics that they found their man and that he was guilty. Speaking of being guilty, Dirty Hands, an interesting article by The New Yorker, talks about cheating in the professional world of bridge, not just chess, right? Chess players aren't the only ones suffering from this, but can we learn anything from how they are detecting and tracking top players and cheating in bridge?
Yeah, we can always learn new improvements to stop cheaters at play, but I really think just removing the cell phones, taking away Bluetooth, and making sure players don't talk to each other is the simplest form of cheat prevention. Well, Danny, for our last question here, on the top end of things, there's been some rumors the World Championship won't be held in New York City after all. What do you think the over-under is that it actually comes to the Big Apple?
I've been surprised by how many top players have given their opinion that they wouldn't be surprised if it was in some other location that isn't New York, but I still give it pretty good odds. I think Aegon will hold true to their word. I'll put it over 85%, so not a sure thing in my mind, but I do think that there's a pretty good chance it'll happen. I'll tell you what is a sure thing, that every time Robert Hess is on ChessCenter, he's going to rock it and make the people feel good. Bobby, go ahead and drop that mic, because we out.